We got us there. Keach, Marty Fitz, happy Power Consistency Day, Wednesday, June 12th. It is January, middle of the month. What's going on, Keach?
Good morning. Feeling good. Alive and well.
Excellent. I am going to. So, Jimmy, I know you're tuning in, my friend. I need you to I need you to listen and see if we have any echoing happening. Marty, am I okay for echo?
A little bit of echo.
A little bit of echo. Jimmy, how's Keach? I got echo on your side?
A little bit of echo.
A little bit of echo. Okay, we're going to keep managing that and see how it works. So, Nation, give us feedback if there's too much echo coming in here. We're trying to do two things at once. We're trying to have some listen. We're just trying to create great content on the show here, and I'm discovering new ways to deliver this show, and that is on the vertical stream on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn Native, and then obviously on the horizontal stream as well. Keach, been a few days since you've been hanging out with me and Marty Fit. What's going on, pal?
Same stuff, different day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, power of consistency.
That's exactly right. The power of consistency coming up today. We got George Janssen joining us here from Winnipeg, Canada. Darren Coxon. Darren's joining us, I think, from over the pond, guys. I think the UK he's coming in from.
Yeah, good morning, mate.
That's it.
Or is that Australia? We're going back to, or New Zealand. We got fans worldwide now, don't we?
Well, yeah, because I'm waiting for this guy to show. The future is here, team. There you go. Yeah, there we go. There. Yeah, we need the future joining us. The future, of course, joining us all the way from New Zealand here this morning on Mornings in the Lab. It is the future, Jory and Darren, over where Enzo's joining us from. So if you guys are making any stock picks today, I would check in with the future. He probably can tell you what's going to happen there in the world there. So he'll help you out. Quickly going to go around the table before we bring what's going on, Enzo. I'm doing great. Excited about today. Had a late night last night, getting ready for today. I always find, gentlemen, Tuesday night, I find you later because Wednesday's a rest and recovery day for me. I got my ride in this morning, got my yoga in this morning, and no Marty, no dead baby.
No dead baby pose.
No, that's the sound for the dead baby. That's the
How'd
sound.
you get that sound?
Well, you know, it's my scary sound.
Sounds like goosebumps.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. Oh, Enzo's yes, exactly. We got to get
Kiwi. That's on me, Enzo. Yeah, when you come out to LA, you know, please teach me. I'm an open book, please.
That's it. All right, coming up on the shows, we have the accountability check-in, of course, the 16-minute mark or so. Bottom of the hour, we have a See Marty Fit tip. Going to be frank, not too sure how we're organized around that. We're still working that into the show, but we got that potentially ready to go depending on how good the conversation is. The 41-minute mark, we have the creator spotlight. Going to shine a light on somebody here on LinkedIn. But team, why don't we get into it? Why don't we welcome in Darren Coxon? And why don't we welcome in George Janssen? And let's get into the chitter chatter and get at her about the power of consistency. Because Marty, you and I have been doing this consistently for many, many days. Nicole Bernard helped me kick this thing off, and now we just keep churning it out every single day, showing up. And Marty, the numbers, man, they're going up. They're going up, nation. We appreciate the support. The numbers are going up over on YouTube. The numbers are going up on LinkedIn. The numbers are going up on Instagram. The numbers are going everywhere. And what it tells me is you're enjoying what you're hearing. You're enjoying the content that myself and C. Marty Fit and Chris Keach and all these awesome guests are coming in. So on behalf of Business Athlete Nation, I'm very thankful and very grateful for that. Marty, we hit a high note yesterday. We're now streaming directly out onto the Mornings in the Lab page on LinkedIn.
Oh, we got the 150.
We got the 150. Yeah. So when Uncle Keith is ill, yeah, there we go. Woo! It's because of you, nation. So when Uncle Keith needs to take a break, see Marty Fit and Chris Keach will step into the seat here, and we'll just keep it all going there straight up on the over on the.
I don't know if they're ready for me to run the show yet.
We're working on it. That's why I got you here. We're warming the world up for C. Marty Fit.
I don't know if they're ready for that.
That's it, Enzo. 2026, you'll be in LA. Yes, of course. I know you're right, Enzo. You have not missed a day, dude. I appreciate that. Marty, if we're going to have a streak master, Keach, it's got to be Enzo.
Got to be Enzo.
Got to be Enzo. It's got to be
You already
Enzo.
beat me, so.
That's it. Hey,
come on, Keach.
I know, right? Come on.
Before we welcome in Jory and Darren in 1 minute here, I was doing my yoga session this morning, and I got a little text from a good friend of the show. Ken, Michael Kaninsky. He's like, hey, I was doing some push-ups and I thought about you. I'm like, oh, I'm not too sure how I feel about that.
Hey, was that him running in the video?
Which video?
Yo, like
the one he put on Insta, the one he put on LinkedIn yesterday.
Was that him running?
I don't know. Hey Ken, was that you running in the video? I saw the video too. Yeah.
Yo, we got a race, man. We got a race.
Awesome. Let's bring in George Janssen into the lab here this morning. I'm sorry, Darren Coxon. George will bring you in a moment there. Darren Coxon is joining us all the way from Darren?
England. From
oh.
Yeah, over the pond.
He's over there. He's
all
over
right.
there.
Hey, so nation, should we be cheering for him being from England, Marty? And sure, we should be doing this.
Hey, I'm British passport too now. Come on.
There we go. You see.
So, Darren, thanks for joining us on the show today. We are here to talk power consistency. You are joining us all the way from England. Your specialty and your expertise is in AI, education and AI and so forth. So, before we get too far into our topic of the day, and before we welcome Jory into the show to do the exact same thing, Jory. So, Jory, pay attention. You're asking the same question. Darren Coxon. Who is Darren Coxon? Oh! So, Darren, who's Darren Coxon? Take a minute to introduce yourself to Nation, and why should we care about what you have to say today, Darren?
Yeah, good question. Why should you care? So, look, I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher forever, 25 years. I know it probably doesn't look it, but I have been in education for 25 years. And teaching English, teaching media, teaching film, teaching theatre, managing schools, head teacher of a school, managing groups of schools all over the world. Last year and a half, I've really been focusing my attention on AI. And I just help schools. Look, I help schools. I teach schools. I give workshops and keynotes and presentations, and I work with leaders, and I work with teachers, and I work with students, and I'm just trying to make the world understand this kind of strange beast that's landed in our lives that no one really seems to know anything about, no one really seems to understand, and I'm just trying to help people to understand it, I guess.
Before in November 23, when Altman and the gang unleashed AI on the world, what were you doing before that?
It was 22.
22. Sorry. Yes, you're right. Sorry, it was. And I remember that. I can't believe how fast time has gone. What were you doing before that, Darren Coxon?
So I was the head teacher of a school in Tunisia. And we probably were one of the first schools in the world to go all in with AI. Everyone was using it. Teachers were using it. Students were using it. We taught the parents how to use it. That was quite fun. And we just did some crazy stuff with AI. So, yeah, a year and a half ago, I was running a school in Tunisia. And now I'm in England and helping others to understand it all.
Yeah. Marty.
Yeah. What led you to AI? So, we didn't have AI before November 22. So,
we did. We did.
Well,
we've had AI for 70 years, but it's only ChatGPT we've had for a year and a half. I think, generative AI.
My apologies.
No, it's fine. It's a lot of people think AI began in November 22. It's been around a long time. So look, I think first of all, I'm a bit of a geek. So I like shiny new things, like most guys do, to be honest with you. And I've always been interested in how technology can make education better, because quite frankly, our education system sucks. It has sucked for a long time. Yes, I knew I'd get that.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Yeah. No, it's really bad. I mean, the education just. I mean, apart from every now and again, you might get a reasonably decent school. Most schools just aren't. They just don't serve the kids very well at all. And so I've always been fascinated by how can technology make things better, and I think AI will. If we get it right, AI will.
If we get it right, everyone will. Keach, I'll throw the question over to you in a second here. We got Darren Coxon joining us. Plus, we got a bunch of comments from folks along the nation right now. Sarvina. Oh, we got our cook in the lab this morning. Yeah, we got Marty waving. Marty's just patiently waiting for Sarvina.
I'm starving right now, Sarvina. I'm starving.
Sarvina's a regular here on the show. We got Kaninsky popping in with Kaninsky, we know you're fast. So next time, you're going to have to race Marty on the air. And of course, we got Enzo joining us in England. Kaninsky, truth is no one as fast as me on video. And of course, we got Enzo popping in here with, some chat GPT. Darren can write some decent essays when he's sick. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Listen, Keach, throw a question over to you. Got a question for Darren before we welcome Jory in a moment.
Yeah. So actually, Enzo makes a great point. So students are using ChatGPT. Even teachers I know are using ChatGPT. So if everybody's using ChatGPT, then how are we learning? So my question is, what is the future of education using ChatGPT? Because now it's definitely, we have to use it. You've seen the positives, but obviously there's negatives. So how do we balance it, Darren?
Yeah,
how do we balance it?
Good question. I think, look, at the moment, the problem that we've got, you're absolutely right, is that loads of students, and I wouldn't say like masses and masses, but a decent percentage of students are using ChatGPT, and they're probably using it, like Enzo said, to write their essays. So the question you have to ask yourself is why. The reason they do it is because they don't see any value in the essays that they're writing, generally, or they don't understand what they're writing. So we have to make it relevant. I think we need to move away from kids writing essays to kids doing like proper decent projects, like real world projects where they're learning relevant stuff about the world. So I think we need to move away from the system that we have, and we have to do, and I think what AI is going to do is going to accelerate it, because quite frankly, we can't keep having a system which is set up to enable students to just generate essays with ChatGPT. So genuinely think this is a really good opportunity for us to take a big step back and go, you know what, the system doesn't work. Let's step by step start to bring in a system where the lower level stuff, the easy stuff, can be done with AI, and just enables us to kind of really think hard about stuff, because we can get a lot of the boring but important stuff out the way. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen anyway.
I like that. The manual labor stuff, we can, the manual kind of grinding grunt work we don't need to waste time, but it's the prompts that we need to learn. I like that. I like that a lot. We need to revolutionize the education system.
Yeah, it's not that hard to prompt. I mean, people talk about prompt engineering. That's not really a thing anymore. You just need to learn how to talk to AI. You need to learn how to speak to AI, almost like a co-worker. The way I teach it, imagine it like a co-worker, and you've got to get to know your co-worker. If you're working with someone on a project, you kind of need to get to know how they think, how they work, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then you can work with them really well. And AI is kind of like that. So I'm teaching educators, I'm teaching students how to use AI like a co-worker, like a support, which sits alongside them. What I do say is, I always recommend you don't put AI in front of you. So, I don't recommend anyone on LinkedIn, for example, having their posts written by ChatGPT, because it just sounds awful. It just sounds like everyone else. I say use AI behind you or to the side of you to plan, to give you ideas, to structure. But when you actually present yourself to the world, present yourself to the world. Don't present ChatGPT. I don't need someone to write me a ChatGPT blog post. I can do it myself. Why do I need you to do it? You can press the button. I can press the button.
But Darren, if you're teaching how to write, it sounds like you. Isn't that a thing now, where it literally can sound like myself? It can sound like Chris. It can write better than I can. Trust me, I've used it. It writes way better than I can. So what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but I just think then it's going to write like you, and it's good. It's even if you try and train it to sound like you, there's this feeling that you get to something that's been written by AI. It's almost too good. And actually, I think there's a danger when we just start to allow AI to make us better in terms of our communication, that there's a trade-off between the accuracy or make it absolutely perfect, but then we read it and we think, it's just too perfect. Does that make sense? It's like,
but then you get the teacher marks you down for inaccuracy. So
no, not necessarily. I mean, obviously, if you've got loads of grammatical, you can use Grammarly. I mean, loads of schools now use Grammarly. I use Grammarly. Grammarly's great. So that still keeps your ideas. It just maybe just makes it a little bit easier to read, but you still feel like it's your personality coming through. I actually just think it's really important that we maintain our personality.
Hey, it's coming. We're 16 minutes past the hour here. Oh, there's that sound, guys. We know what that sound is, Marty. It's the accountability check-in, 16 minutes after the hour, guys. We are here to check in today, get your guys going started here. Jory, you're up next after the accountability check-in is done. Hey, guys, we're here to talk consistency today. The road to success, Marty. We talk about it often. You, me too, Keach. The road to success is not as exciting as you think, is it?
Really?
No, it's pretty boring, isn't it? Right? Consistency is one of the most boring things around. But if you get this one thing right, success is, guys, it's predictable and it is inevitable. Consistency is got to be one of the most underrated skills, if that's even a skill, I think, on the planet, right? Most humans chase big wins. We chase the Stanley Cup. We chase the NBA championship, right? We chase a major league ring. And there's nothing wrong with that. But unless you neglect those small and daily actions that make those wins possible, it's like planting a tree and waiting for it to, waiting for the end. You got to watch the tree grow. Consistently water it, consistently tend to it, consistently care to it. You know what? That's pretty damn boring. But if you want to be accountable to your goals and you want to reach success, you got to be consistent. And George Janssen, who we're going to welcome here in a moment here, who specializes as a dietitian, food nutritionist, and we talked on Monday about how to beat those sugar and junk cravings as we were working through January, Marty and Keach. It's about just being consistent every single day, trying to be the same or better than the one before. And that's where everything starts. So not everything is glamorous. Hey, Marty, you and I joke about being boring. I shared with you a couple of days ago about some of the issues I had growing up with FOMO, thinking I should be out somewhere when reality was boring. Being consistent is what drives success. Powerful enough that consistency can change your entire life. Those simple things every single day. They're boring as hell, but if you do them every single day, they're going to add up to a lot of great success. So that is today's accountability check-in, guys. It's that power of consistency. Hey, Keach, it's that whole idea that the road to success, as you are achieving your MLB aspirations, not as exciting as we think, right? So, Marty, any comments on the accountability check-in before we check in with George Janssen and bring her in to talk consistency along with Darren Coxon? Keach, Marty Fit, accountability check-in comments today.
Yeah, I always relate everything back to basketball and sports, because that's my passion and that's where I started. But, I played on multiple championship teams coming up, high school, college, and those championships were won in preseason conditioning.
Yes.
They weren't won on the championship day. So the way we approach preseason, showing up every day, fighting through injuries, sticking together, being positive, not getting down, not pointing fingers and hating each other, and really establishing a brotherhood, that's when the championship was won. And then another example, I brought up on here before about Michael Jordan started every practice with chest passes, which is like what you learn when you're 5 years old. So him learning, him starting to practice with that at the pro level, and keeping it basic and keeping it consistent is why he could win 6 championships, because he kept his formula consistent through his whole career.
Consistency is boring, but consistency drives success. George Janssen joining us from Winnipeg, Canada. Jory. Oh, wrong one there. I got to bring this one on here. There's Jory. There we go. Jory, our good friend AJ Zeglin, Marty Fit, said, hey, you got to join the lab. Come hang out with Keith and Keach and Marty Fit and talk about stuff. So I knocked on your door Monday. We were to try to get you in here for the junk food, the sugar cravings challenge, but our schedules were conflicting. But I said, hey, why don't you join us today? Because the power of consistency, it's the same thing, regardless if you're struggling to battle junk food, regardless if you're struggling to battle sugar. But before we get into the power of consistency, Jory, let's get the audience caring about you. Who's George Janssen?
George Janssen is one blessed human being, that's for sure. What I do is I work with humans and helping them with their consistency, which is not boring. It's more of moving from survival to significance, right? So when we're consistent, we're being loyal, we're being true to ourselves, and that's not boring. That's actually pretty cool and pretty exciting. So when you know your why, your consistency gives you that excitement to move forward. So my full-time gig is working with the Canadian Sports Centre Manitoba. I would say that's my day job, except for when you work with athletes. As athletes know, it's not 8 to 4 and then no more. It's 10 at night. What do you need? So I work with high performance athletes. I also have a small private practice where I'll work with people within their businesses. I work with everyday people, which I consider myself, and just trying to move that needle a little bit to being a little bit more better in terms of where we want to go. So registered dietitian is the formal education. I also work with Sports Scientists Canada, chairing their LEAD program, helping our integrated support teams become better leaders, and also the Women in Sports Science mentorship group. So I do different things. It's not all related to being a registered dietitian or a performance dietitian, but basically it's helping create that behavior change so that way we can just move to the next level.
That's awesome. Well, welcome to the lab, Joy. We're really here to we're really excited to have you here today to have this discussion around consistency. So Darren, let's put you back on the spotlight here for a second. Mm-hmm. So to you as an educator, AI guy, and so forth, and helping change the world around there, and Jory, I'm going to ask you the same question. With all cliches aside, what does consistency mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think with education, it's possibly one of the most important aspects of being an educator, being consistent. There's nothing worse for a young person, a child, a teenager, to have inconsistency in their life, but particularly if they get lots of inconsistency in their home lives, which they often do. Lots of students come to school because they need consistency. You know, they need that regimented routine. Mm-hmm. They need to know where they go. They need to know what they need to understand what their teacher's going to be like. They need to know where the line is. That's so important. So I think as a whole school, good education only really ever happens if everyone in the school is consistent. You know, everything is kind of It doesn't have to be regimented like an army routine, but there certainly needs to be that degree of consistency. I think consistency for me means about being reliable, being punctual. It means if I'm going to do something, if I say something, I'm going to do it. If I'm going to create a classroom environment, I'm going to stick to that, because if I don't, I'm going to stress my students out. And if I stress my students out, it means they're not going to learn. Because if you're feeling anxious and you're not sure what's going to happen from one moment, you know, whether your teacher's going to blow up and just go crazy, or walk out, or be really aggressive, or whatever, or treat one student differently from another, because there's also that degree of consistency, be consistent with everyone. I think the problem then is no one knows what's going on, and then people don't learn. So I think for education, it's literally at the foundation.
Yeah. Jory, when you think about consistency and the success, failure of it, people struggle with it, especially in your world with food and nutrition. And I think it's probably one of the most difficult things we all struggle with is trying to do the same thing every single day to have a healthy lifestyle. Why do people struggle with consistency, Jory?
You know, life happens, and life isn't always consistent. And I think it's kind of what Darren was saying. People are looking for that safe space to be able to know this is what's happening, this is how I can show up, this is how I can feel and be real. And if that's not there and life's inconsistencies show up, it's really hard to follow through with what your intention would be. So I think that, you know, it's challenging because not everyone is the same. Not everyone's life path and journey is the same. And I mean, if we think of even mental health and well-being in my own household, I can wake up and you know, working with my family, I don't know what every morning is going to be like. I don't know if I'm going to show up for 7 a.m. Morning show in the version that I think my intention was going to be. So life isn't always consistent. So whatever we can do to create strategies or systems in place to allow some consistency, some normalcy, some momentum, then I think that creates a security in terms of who we are and how we show up.
So consistency it's not just a buzzword. It's rooted in how our brains and our bodies work. Dopamine releases, reinforcements, and so forth. Let's talk about this idea of negative consistency and, you know, and destructive behavior, right? Because we're really much kind of focusing on the theme right now of being consistent on achieving success. But there's also the other side of that, right? Which is consistently doing bad things to jeopardize and to create bad habits that jeopardize success. So, you know, the obvious topic of discussion today is, okay, well, everything's positive. If we do all the good things, all the boring things, we're going to have the good results. But these bad habits can creep in with that consistency can jeopardize the success ahead of you. Keach, Marty, you want to comment on that? On how negative habits get in the way of consistent success? Marty.
Oh yeah, with me coming from the fitness world, I tell all my clients that they already know how to be consistent. So whatever led them to gain the weight, or whatever led them to the injury, whatever led them to wanting to hire the trainer, it came from consistency, even though it was negative, right? So you could have eaten poor foods for decades, right? You could have been working a desk job, and that's why your hips are super tight, and you lack mobility. We got to work on that. You haven't been hydrating. So a lot of people know how to be consistent. Now it's just basically shifting their energy to positive consistency. So I absolutely agree with you on that.
But Jory, how do you change somebody's behavior? Not you, but
Yeah,
what are some of the tactics that you offer? So, what we often like to offer up to Nation is nuggets of advice, nuggets of what can they take away from the show. So somebody's listening right now, they have a consistent destructive behavior. And as Marty said, right, consistently opening the peanut butter jar, or consistently, doing something I shouldn't be doing. How do I change that behavior from a negative to a positive behavior, Jory?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super blessed to work with mental performance consultants and sports psychologists. And so when we work together as a team, and it is a team, we look at whoever we're working with as, what is something that you can take a look at? So what's one thing that you can start doing? Everyone that I work with wants the whole meal deal. They want the full plan. I always say every meal plan you get, I call them nutrition guides because they're guides, right?
Yes.
So whenever you get that, it's another self-help book. And what happens to most self-help books? Not much. Right.
Yes.
And so sure, get the full plan. Now, what's one thing you can start doing? Maybe, that what was mentioned, maybe you're going to start hydrating. Well, what does hydrating look like? So being very specific with what you're going to start doing. What's something you're going to stop doing? I'm going to stop scrolling until 12 a.m. because sleep is really important in terms of hormone balance, appetite, etc., and showing up the way I want to be. Okay, so I'm going to stop scrolling by 9 p.m. Great. And what are you going to continue doing? Because not everything is awful. Not everything is inconsistent. Not everything is moving in the wrong direction. What's one thing that you're going to continue to do? And so when you look at, what's one way to nudge a little bit of moving from maybe you're at a 5, how can you move to a 5.5 or a 6 on the scale? And moving towards the direction of where you want to be. And those little consistent tiny changes add up to a lifestyle of where you want to be, right? So it's what do you want? What is it that you want to start doing? Well, I want to get fit. Great. What does that mean? And so really breaking it down. And when they show up in our next chat together, it's not like, oh, I didn't do it. It's maybe you weren't doing whatever it was all the time, but when were you and why were you successful at that time? And really building up the human in terms of being successful. So it's really, what do you want to start? What do you need to stop doing so you can start doing something? And also you're doing something that's okay. You showed up today and you didn't have to. So do you want to continue doing that? Great, let's do that. So I really think that those small little incremental changes can really set someone up to be consistent more often than not. And you're not always going to be, as I mentioned earlier, life shows up inconsistently. And so it's how do you get back on track sooner rather than later? And
it's this idea of giving yourself permission to begin again, isn't it, Jory?
Oh, for sure. And right. We do daily, right?
Yes, exactly. So Fit Presenter, Marty, we had Mike McQuillan join us yesterday on the show to talk about grit, and he joins us today with the morning shows help me with consistency in my day. Thanks, Business Athlete Lab. And that's it. Right. When I started the show, I wanted to play into some human. I had a hypothesis, Keach. I said to you, I'm like, hey, if we show up in the morning, will people show up? And whether they're here in North America or will folks show up there from over across the pond, like our friend Darren Coxon? And sure enough, we consistently do start the show. And people put it into their habits and they consistently show up all the time. And we got this business we're building now in front of everybody. So Darren, I want to bring you back into the conversation around AI weaving itself into human life, and AI consistently doing the right thing or the wrong thing. When you look at society, when you look at AI weaving itself into our world, do you think we're going to redefine this idea of consistency because technology is just going to do things for us?
I'm not sure it will redefine consistency. Consistency just is. Consistency is doing the same thing, over and over again. And I think that the challenge we've got with AI is at the moment it can be inconsistent. It can hallucinate. It can you can put a prompt in and it can give different response each time, variations on a theme, but it can give you different response. So I think that lack of consistency can potentially be problematic. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people don't trust AI systems is because they're not necessarily as consistent as people might like them. But actually, if you look at the way that AI is being used in the medical field, so I don't know, an example like the Human Genome Project or Alzheimer's research or cancer research, actually it's very, very good at consistently spotting outliers. It's consistently spotting variations on the norm, things that are sort of looking abnormal. And so I think in that respect, it's very good on the kind of machine learning end, the kind of the end that the scientists are using. It's actually very, very good. When it comes to what's facing the public right now, I mean, I actually say that the AI that we have now is it's literally like the Apple Lisa. I'm going to use that as an example. That's kind of where we are. We're literally at the early stages of Apple's development. When it gets to the M1, M2, M3 chip version of AI, then we're not going to know it. So I think right now we shouldn't judge AI too much because it's so early. We're so early in the game. But I think we need to be aware that if we base too much of our own, output on AI, people will lose trust in us, because consistency and trust are literally, they go hand in hand. If you're not consistent, people won't trust you. And so if you spend too much time with AI, and it's giving a really good example in New York about 6 months ago, a couple of lawyers, they produced some case law, and actually it was made up, and they got into a lot of trouble, and they basically, lots of people lost trust in them because they were using AI for the wrong purposes. So I think it's really important that right now, if we are using AI, we're bringing a lot of our human judgment into it, because if we don't, the danger is we are inconsistent in the way in which we're presenting ourselves to the world, and then people are just going to lose trust in us.
Well, it's interesting you bring up trust, Darren, because trust and consistency in many ways are one and the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a world where we're going to continually be inundated with fake or questionable or content that we don't know whether it's real or not. It's creating content in a program like this, Jory, where we show up every single day, giving you that familiar voice, that familiar tone, that familiar content where you build the trust in us. We consistently deliver the content you trust. We build a relationship, and good habits form, right? And that's really the desire here. But Jory, how do you stay consistent when motivation stops? We talk motivation, we talk discipline, we talk habits. Somebody who's so dedicated, and then they get into a lull. What would be some advice you'd give somebody to say, no, strike it through, keep going. It's okay to have that dip. What would be some advice you'd offer somebody in that situation, Jory?
I don't know if it's advice exactly, other than it's what you just said. No one is an island, right? No one can just be on their own. It's setting yourself up for success. Who and what do you need around you? Who's your village that's helping take care of you? And so whether it's mental health, it's nutrition, it's getting that strength program in, whatever it might be, who's there to make sure that when you're not able to carry through, that someone's there to remind you. And that's usually what I do. Most of the time, I'm not teaching someone anything new. You can get any information anywhere. I'm not teaching anyone anything new most of the time. What I am doing is being that safe space, that trusting space, that you show up as you are, and I'm going to remind you who you are. Not remind you of what you did, but of who you are. And once you remember who you are, then you start bringing in your values. What are your values? And when you figure out, okay, these are my values. I value my health and well-being because, what are your 5 whys? I value myself for that. So yeah, now I have my why, my foundation. Now I can, if it is eating better, maybe it's not. Maybe you don't care about that. Fine. What is it that you want to work on and move forward? So it's who is in your corner. And sometimes you have to pay for that. Hopefully not for everybody in your corner. And then just remembering your why, your intention. And for me, when a lot of people come in and they want to change, maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's body composition, maybe it's they had surgery, ACL surgery, and they want recovery. So it's really what is your why for that? The outcome is that you recover from surgery or that you change your body composition. That's the outcome. But why do you want that? Because once you do that, then you set up systems in place so the outcome happens.
Yeah. Keach, I know you're a man of faith. It's something that it's a center of your principle. Does faith and Marty, you and I've talked about spirituality and so forth. Is faith the cornerstone of consistency for you, Keach? And is it one of those principles of your day that is a pillar to help you stay consistent? Would that be the best way for me to put that for you, Keach? And Marty, I'm going to come back to the same question on spirituality. Like those fundamental pillars that often we wake up with and we hold close to us. Does that keep you consistent every single day, Keach?
Yeah, cornerstone. I like how you said it. And the Bible even says cornerstone, because like a house, if it doesn't have a pillar or a cornerstone, it's going to fall down. It's the same with us. So yeah, for me, it's God. For me, my cornerstone is God. And that is what allows me to stay strong, right? Because I have my village, my people.
Yeah.
And it's easy, like when the wave comes, the wave of life, the wave of the, the cookies, or I'm tired, or I have all these things to do, stress, that blows us down. That is what actually makes us fall down. But if you have that foundation, if you have the cornerstone, then for me, yeah, I mean, I'm set. I have something to fall back on. I have my people, I have my village, I have what keeps me strong. And if you don't have that, you better find some foundation. It doesn't have to be somebody else. It has to be from within, right?
Yeah.
But usually it comes from other people, like a coach. And in going to AI, I'm curious, right? If you can teach AI yourself and what, who you are and what your goals are. And then every day it reminds you, hey, in Scarlett Johansson, her voice, Chris, this is who you are. This is your goals. Don't forget. I wonder where we're going. You put your Apple Vision goggles on and it reminds you, hey, hey, Chris, you didn't work out today. You're over calories today, or whatever it is. Those coaches. That's what you need. You need something to fall back on. You need somebody to tell you, whether that's faith or whether that's your coach. I mean, that's the foundation for me.
Yeah. Hey, Marty, I got a curious question for you, my friend. So, because you're so disciplined, you coach discipline, you help people stay accountable. Marty, what's the hardest thing for you about staying consistent?
Probably when I fail, or when I hit some point of failure, it's just picking myself back up. I'm great at picking people up, making them feel great, giving them the confidence. But sometimes I got to take my own medicine, and sometimes I struggle with that. So it's like how can I be so great at helping people get back on track, get on their goals, but I struggle with it for myself. So that's probably the hardest. But I always pull through. And like Keach was talking about, faith is a big part of that. I feel like God isn't going to put me in a situation I can't get through. And I feel like God has my plan laid out for me. And just complete failure isn't on that path. So, those are some things that help me. And that's something I struggle with.
Yeah. Thank you for being so vulnerable with that. Darren, what about yourself? What do you, as a leader, as a thought leader, get in front of your professionally and personally, what do you struggle with when you're struggling with being consistent, Darren?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's basically the same as what everybody says. I struggle with not getting distracted. So maintaining consistency during a working day, particularly when you're working from home, I think that the movement towards working from home for so many people has brought with it a lot of challenges. Because actually, when you go to an office and you've just got your office space, mentally you can put yourself in that zone. Whereas when you're potentially surrounded by home comforts, it's actually quite challenging. So I think maintaining a very consistent space that you work in at home, that's important. And when you literally step through the door, when I kind of mentally, like I've commuted. That's kind of, if I've just had breakfast with my family, and as soon as I step into the office and close the door, I've made that switch from like the home brain to the work brain. It's really important. So I'm able to kind of zone in, but I still find social media, particularly LinkedIn, not so much Twitter, X, I find it quite hard. So I literally just turn everything off. So when I know I've got to do something, like today, I've been at my desk since 7 a.m. and I haven't actually stopped. It's just been one of those days.
Yeah.
And I know that if I didn't turn everything off, I wouldn't get done everything I needed to get done. So meditation for me is very important as well. So I have faith. I'm probably not, maybe Keach, I think I envy people like you, to be honest with you, because I don't necessarily feel that cornerstone in the way that maybe I used to, but I do meditate, and I do find that very helpful, because actually that calms my brain down, and it's easier for me to then be consistent, because I don't have this kind of what they call monkey mind, the kind of thoughts dancing around, because that's what can distract you when your brain's very distracted. If you can get into that balanced place, I think it's much easier then to be consistent.
Yeah. Hey, Jory, I got to throw it to you, because this is fascinating to me, because we're all thought leaders here, and we all have our struggles, right? We all go through our days. We're all trying to present accountability and present like, yes, I live perfect life. Not. So what do you struggle with consistency, Jory? Because you're out there teaching your clients what to eat, what not to eat. And it's funny because Sarvina jumps in here. Marty, we were talking on Monday here, and we were talking about sugar cravings and junk food cravings. She's like, this Monday podcast really reduced my sugar cravings. And Sarvina also says, it's my third day without my regular TV, but I'm surviving. And then Lauren jumps in and says, I find that staying consistent requires a goal. Yes. If you fall off from being consistent, it may be time to reevaluate and set new goals. George Janssen, what do you struggle with? It's being a nutritionist, a healthy human being, your family, your clients. What do you hide from them, George Janssen?
Oh, I think I used to hide, and now I just share everything that, I think what I used to struggle with was, I remember working with golf. I was traveling with a women's development team, and I was pregnant, and we're in a golf cart with the sports psychologist, and I was like, I just need something. I need a chocolate bar, but I got to hide it though. And so I got it, and I hid it and ate it. And the sports psychologist that I was working with at the time stopped.
Marty's expression right now, Jory, says everything.
I get it, because for her, if she showed the team that she was mentally struggling,
yes,
right,
Exactly.
then how would they accept her in what she had to offer the team? So what I decided to do was change that method. And what I did one day, I was working in a clinic at the time. I don't work in a clinic anymore, but I showed up in the lunchroom with a caramel chocolate bar, not just a regular one, like the king size ones.
Yes.
Lunchtime. And I sat in there, and I opened it up, and I started eating the chocolate, and everyone was just kind of looking like, because everyone says what the dietitian eats, right? And so I was eating the chocolate bar, and I was just talking, and no one said anything. And I went back to my office, and I was glad I did it, because I felt like people needed to normalize food. Food doesn't give you morals. It's not like, oh, you're a good person or you're a bad person. It's food. It really is not thinking about you. And so I like, that was good, but I need to eat my lunch now. And I did that in private, but I ate the chocolate bar in the room, because I wanted people to know that if you're a human, you're going to struggle somewhere. Everybody does. And so do I still struggle with some of that? For sure, because I'm a dietitian that works in high performance sport.
Yes.
And the thing that a lot of people don't realize until they get to know me, so I'm going to let everyone know now, is that I never was an athlete. I was never a good athlete. In fact, I was told, Jory, you will not be a sports dietitian. You will not work in high performance sport because you're not a high level athlete.
Wow.
Crickets.
That's the response.
Do I struggle with being consistent with workouts? For sure. As Darren was saying, distraction is probably my biggest one. It's like, oh, shiny, right? Yeah. And so I think the ability to decrease distraction increases consistency. And the biggest part too for me is knowing, like, okay, am I going to fail? Yes, every day, several times a day. I'm always saying sorry to my daughter. And so it's, are you going to fail? For sure? And how do you fail forward with that? Because if you know that the failure is going to be a lesson learned, an opportunity for growth, just like in the strength room, that breakdown means that you're going to build up. right? And so as often as I fail in my nutrition, in my training, I know it's an opportunity for me to now be more empathic with those that I'm going to work with and support and bring up. So that's how I deal with it.
Yeah, that's a great response, Jory. And I'll tell you, I look at yourself, I look at Keach, I look at Marty Fit, and then I put myself and Darren over here because you guys are all like athletes, right? And we have this perception of what, okay, well, Jory's eating the right things and Marty's drinking his water and Keach is doing his thing. Well, me and Coxon, we're just crushing the peanut butter and the chocolate over here because we're the business guys over here. So
No, I'm actually quite fit as well.
hold on.
You're on your own, Keith. You're on your own.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I struggle with consistency, nation, with one thing y'all know I struggle with. And my consistent problem, George Janssen, and how I struggle and how I battle it is I just tape up the jar. I know, Marty. Hey, dude, listen, since I've met you, Marty Fit, this thing is still closed.
It is still closed, or maybe you just got a new one. Just keep replacing it.
They only sell them 2 times.
Like, see, Marty's not going to know. Let me replace it with the new one.
Don't tell anybody my secret. But I stay consistent, guys, by using masking tape. Just tape up.
That is so funny.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You know
exactly.
Yes.
No judgment here.
It's no judgment here. And Fit presenter Mike jumps in and says, in a world of nutrition, yes, a lot of people confuse judgment with knowledge. Right? We go back to that carbohydrates conversation we had earlier this week, right? Can't have carbs, can't have carbs, can't have carbs. Jory's like, well, no, you can have carbs. Yeah. Don't go ahead, Martin.
I was going to say, you know what, Jory? Keith was laughing at me recently because the weekend of Memorial Day, I went to a birthday party and I had some cake. I had some mac and cheese, and people were like putting me on Instagram, laughing at me. The trainers eating, and but it's all about moderation. I've been eating chicken and asparagus all week and boring rice. So I want to enjoy myself for one event. Yeah. So it's cool to do that in public sometimes. So I definitely respect that, Joy, and I'm glad you shared that because I can relate.
For sure. And for everybody, their journey is different, right? So in my household, we have dessert every day. It's what we want. It brings us joy. And so we have dessert every day. But some people, that's a trigger or it's harmful to them, then don't, right? And the peanut butter, I laugh, and also it makes me sad, right? Because it's like, if you enjoy it, can you set up systems in place so that way you enjoy it? For example, I have some clients who are like, oh, I just can't, leave something alone. Or I wake up in the middle of the night, pain, whatever, can't sleep. Maybe they have an eating disorder. And so they get up and they eat like crazy. I'm like, can you set up a system that you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want? In Winnipeg, like maybe it's Jeannie's cake. And so take that slab of cake and take a slice out, sit down and enjoy the crap out of it. Savor it, enjoy it. And once you're done, do you feel like you were in control or did you lack control? If you feel guilt, shame, and lacked control, then let's talk about what happened. If you felt like, it was 2 a.m. and I had a bite, or I ate the whole slab, but I ate it slowly and enjoyed the whole thing. And afterwards I was like, I'm not going to do that for a while, but I did it. And that's okay. What a great space to be, right?
Yeah, and then I go back and consistently.
So it's setting up systems in place so that way you get to decide, not a jar or not someone on social media waving a finger at you, but it's more of you get to decide more often than not how you choose to treat your body, how you choose to treat your mind, and respectfully decide, okay, that was probably a miss. So what can I do tomorrow or what can I do in the next hour to be better in terms of what I want? So yeah, I just think people they label food, they elite eating for sure. It's like, have this greens and you're going to be awesome. And that's not what makes you awesome, right? So,
no, it's not what makes you awesome. No. What a great conversation we're having this morning here. And I can't believe we're almost towards the end of a conversation around the power of consistency and how it moves you forward positively, how it can also move you forward negatively and hijack life and so forth. So if you have masking tape, tape up your jar of peanut butter. It might help you stay consistent to not opening the jar. But team, there's a segment of the show. Jimmy, I'm a little bit behind, but that's okay. We're having great chatter and we're still, still sorting things out. Team, there's a part of our show here where we like to take a big light, Jory, Darren, this big ass light, and we find somebody on LinkedIn. We like the work that we're doing, and we take that light and we shine it on them. And then we celebrate them and we say, hey, Darren Coxon, love the work that you're doing. Hey, George Janssen, love the work that you're doing. And we celebrate them and put them all over LinkedIn and create some content and celebrate them. So today, for our Creator Spotlight, my hands are all over the place today, team. Today for the Creator Spotlight is somebody who has been sneaking around my feeds and sneaking around, I think, a number of folks' feeds here on LinkedIn. And it is a gentleman who's funny. Speaking of funny, Amy Guindon, Marty. Amy Guindon, Keach, dropped her video yesterday. Jory, Darren Coxon, go follow Amy Guindon on LinkedIn. She is bringing comedy to the feed. Every Tuesday, noon Eastern time, she drops 1.5 minute video. It is funny as... She dropped one yesterday, and I told her I'm going to talk about it every show, every week, because I'm a huge fan. Because, guys, the feeds get caught up with the same stuff over and over and over and over and over. And Amy's creating some really fun new stuff. So I encourage you guys to go check out her content because she's making some great stuff. But hey, today we want to shine the light on, where is my, there it is right there. We're going to shine the light on, right here. We're going to shine the light on Alex Shalheel Beaching is today's Creator Spotlight. Now, let me see if I can get this up here properly. We're going to do this here. There he is. So Alex joins us from England, Darren. Some just come, your part of the world's over there. Alex is one funny dude. I got to tell you, if you like humor and comedy, he's also creating different kind of content that will set your feed apart. Alex talks about tripling your powers with persuasion. He's the guy that ChatGPT calls when it's stuck. I'm your secret weapon against the dark forces of meh and his minions, dull and duller, safe and safer, and dumber dumber. Wit, words, wonder, and wow. That's what I bring to the branding, marketing, advertising table. Alex has a way with words. He makes founders filthy rich. If you're looking for a fun follow for your feed, I'm telling you, besides Amy Guindon, I cannot encourage you enough to follow Alex Shalheel Beaching. He is our Creator Spotlight today. He's making great stuff. He's going to bring joy to your feed, and I really could not encourage you guys enough to check him out because I know I'm enjoying his stuff, and I'm sure you guys will all as well. So, Alex, welcome to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, C. Marty Fit, Chris Keach, Darren Coxon, George Janssen. You are our Creator Spotlight today in the lab, and we're getting better with that all the time here. So, team, that wraps up our chat today on consistency, Creator Spotlight, accountability check-in. Marty, we didn't get to the to our fit tip. We're working that better into the show. But before we say goodbye, let's go around the table, guys. Jory, a nugget that you can leave to Business Athlete Nation before we say goodbye today. What would you like to leave with today, George Janssen?
Oh, a nugget. You know what? I think I have to put it towards nutrition, though I know we're talking about consistency, but it's not a moral thing. I honestly, it's not. We need fuel to burn fuel. We need to be social and have quality of life. So food is what it is. It is nourishing and it's also fun. It's not only food is medicine. Food is there for life, whatever life brings. So enjoy food.
Yeah, that's excellent. Marty Fit, tip from you today, man, for folks to hang on to as they go throughout their day, buddy.
Yeah, consistency is key. Just focus on moving the needle 1% better. You're not going to hit the end goal in one day. You're not going to lose the 30 pounds in one day. You're not going to build the business in one day. You're not going to have the perfect relationship in one day. 1% better, move the needle, and stay consistent with it, and you'll get to where you want to be.
I like that. So simple yet so true, right? Hey, Darren, yourself coming into us from England, thoroughly enjoyed. You hung on for the whole hour. I know you had booked in for the first 30, but man, I'm really grateful you stuck around for the whole hour. What would you like to leave up for Nation to consider as we go throughout our day today, and as you work towards wrapping your day up in England, Darren?
Yeah, just being consistent about building relationships with people, trusting relationships with people, And it's more important to build trusting relationships with people than machines, because it's people that pay your salaries, not machines.
Ah, well said. Well said. Keach, final word to you before I close it up here today. What do you got to say, Mr. Keach?
Yeah, compound effect, right? Classic finance principle. The more that we are, able to be honest with ourselves and see the little increments, there's really nothing little in life. So whether it's getting up on time or whether it's like Darren said, your relationships or your family, these things are what are going to propel us forward in the future. So take everything as a blessing and as an opportunity, because nothing is little.
I like that. Nothing is little in life. That's a great slogan, Keach. You're right. Because we treat these things little, and those little moments truly are little, but when you step back, they're part of a grander scheme, aren't they?
They're compounding 100%.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's a good choice of words. I'm going to leave the final word for my love, Lauren. I find that staying consistent requires a goal, because if you fall off from being consistent, it's probably, I'll change her words, it's probably time to reevaluate and set new goals. So if you're struggling with being consistent, nation, I would encourage you to sit back and pause and look in the mirror, reflect, and ask yourself, what's the goal you're trying to achieve? And maybe when you can honestly answer that question, the idea of being consistent comes easier for you. So what a great conversation. Jory, thanks for jumping in today. I hope you enjoyed your time here with us this morning.
I did. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was texting her, Marty and Keach, and I said, hey, we're trying to create old school vibes, old school morning radio, old school TV, morning show stuff. And she's like, I like the vibe you guys are bringing. So Jory, now that you've witnessed from afar and you've been in the lab, I hope it was as enjoyable inside of the lab as it was from outside of the lab watching it.
It was great. All of you. So awesome. Even I took something away. So thank you so much.
Good. And we're going to have you back. We always say once a guest of the lab, you're now a friend of the lab. So the door's always open. And Coxon, over to you, my friend, as well. Darren, thanks for jumping in, man. We met over on LinkedIn through some Krasky comments, and you're like, hey, why don't you come in and join the chat? And I'll be honest with you, Darren, when I invited you in, I know this isn't your expertise, but I know life is.
Yeah.
Right. And being consistent is part of life.
Yeah. Pleasure to be here. Thanks very much. I need to dash onto the next one.
Take care, Darren. Have a good one, pal. See you later, buddy. All right, Darren's out of here. Nation, we're out of here as well. Keach, Marty, Jory, we'll see you guys later. Have a great one, Nation. We'll see you guys tomorrow.